Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Loki, Breaking Brad. And I didn't like this episode. It wasn't so horrendous that I would be like, there was some stuff that I was like, okay, I kind of get it. But, again, the issues come into play of I don't think there was a clear enough goal of what was going on here, because this is almost a retread of what we were doing in the previous episode, which is kind of mind-boggling. And also the previous season of we've got to find Sylvie. It's like, okay. So we start off in 1977 London on the Sacred Timeline as they're looking for X5, the hunter who is going by Brad Wolfe here as an actor. And this is some of the most boring fucking shit possible. And that's hard for me to say because it's just dead space, not much done with the characters, and it mainly feels like all of this is walked back of we wanted an action scene with Loki and Sylvie. That's later on in the episode. We pretty much have to figure out what Dox is doing, which is pruning the timelines. And we want to have a chase scene with Loki and Brad Wolfe. And that's what we get. He pretty much runs away from him. They kind of just wanted to talk to him about what he was fucking doing. And they gave no inkling that they were just going to lock him up or whatnot. They just kind of wanted to know what the fuck was kind of going on. And there's not been enough interactions for this to be warranted for Brad to just run away from him like he was doing. It was just very confusing of just like, oh, they just wanted a chase scene with him and Tom Hiddleston. So they go around. Loki uses some of his powers to effect, using, interestingly enough, his shadows to kind of get Brad into place as they kind of figure out something going on with his temp pad. So they take him back to the TVA. We pretty much get them doing kind of like interrogation kind of stuff, which is just fucking stupid of good cop, bad cop. Of course, we also get that Obi is trying to figure out that the loom is screwed because of the branching. It's like, I thought we kind of dealt with this, but evidently not, because this whole little subplot is he's trying to fuck with it. But the thing is, he makes this thing that he's going to go put on the loom. But the thing is, he can't open the doors because for some reason it's now locked, and he either needs Ms. Minutes or the temporal aura of someone who could potentially be like He Who Remains or maybe Renslayer. And by the way, they're now looking for her as they're trying to figure out what's going on with Brad's temp pad. And Loki's like, oh yeah, I was in the past, and He Who Remains and Renslayer were working together or something. Thought that would be important enough to talk about, but it's dropped like a wet turd. Just oh yeah, here's a kind of plot point, because we just haven't really done much. It's alright, whatever. And we get Casey is pretty much oh yeah, you could just use this guidebook as they're trying to figure out what's kind of going on. It's oh yeah, this doesn't stop tracking or whatnot. So they go in and they try and interrogate Brad. Brad acts like a dillhole and pretty much calls Loki a loser, and that he's always a villain and all that kind of stuff. And that's always kind of fixed points with it. It's yeah, but if that's the case, what goes on with you, dude? And then he pretty much starts going in on Mobius, being oh yeah, screw you, you're a nothing man working with a nothing organization. And then he just loses it and hits him. And then him and Loki go have pie, and Loki pretty much trying to I know that this is supposed to be a nice character heart to heart, and some of it works, but it's the execution of it that just doesn't really fit right for me. It felt like the plot needed Mobius to lash out like that, and that's what it did. And then we get a nice kind of scene of Loki talking about yeah, I understand that, because Mobius is it was tactical, but it wasn't. And Loki's yeah, when I went to do the New York stuff, that wasn't tactical. It was emotion and everything. Him trying to take Tony Stark and being pissed off and throwing him off the building. That was him being emotional. It's it's nice that Loki's able to reflect on himself and understand why he's done these kind of things. So, yes, there's a little bit of good out of this. But they finish that up. They pretty much get their idea of him being the god of mischief and pretty much using this weird little temporal box kind of thing to box in Brad. He's like, all right, I'll tell you where Sylvie is and I'll tell you what's kind of going on with everything. It's like, all right, cool. And it's kind of good that Mobius and Loki trust each other enough to kind of do this, because it made it look like Loki was just going to torture his ass. And honestly, that doesn't really get you any kind of information. But they needed the information to figure out kind of what's kind of going on. So they then get him to take them to the branch timeline where Sylvie is working at McDonald's, and is like, I don't want nothing to do with you. It's like, okay. And then Loki lays out information that she should be like, maybe I should fucking deal with this shit, because it could, I don't know, potentially fuck some shit up. And they see that she's being pretty just fuck you kind of reaction to Loki, but Loki's like, I saw you in the future, and everything's just like, the time's not, future's not written kind of shit. And it's like, okay, I kind of get it, but now we're at the butting head stage again. Brad wants to leave, and Mobius is like, why you acted so weird? And then we figure out that we go back to the TVA. We see that, like, branches are being destroyed and everything, and that Dox is doing this. It's like, wow, that's the most basic fucking thing that can be done for this character. There's nothing to it. Like, then they just go and they, like, fight, utilizing some interesting kind of powers and all that, because Sylvie decided to enchant him, figure out that everything's... Oh, no, they didn't go to the TVA to kind of see that. That's how they see the kind of aftermath. Sylvie enchants Brad, figures out the whole kind of plan, and then they kind of go to the centralized location where the temp pad can kind of do the thing, because we saw that during the chase sequence, which, granted, they really needed to do a better job of kind of doing that. Sorry that I kind of mixed that up. It's just, it kind of ran together and was really kind of boring and very hard to kind of focus on this episode. So they go, they do some kind of cool magicking kind of things that they kind of work together, and they capture all of them and everything, but we see that they pretty much succeeded, as B-15 is seeing that, like, pretty much all the timelines are pruned. But then, since there aren't that many timelines, they're able to lock in on Renslayer and are going to try and find her temp pad. Let's see. And then, of course, Sylvie's like, this is all the TVA's fault, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you took out the Timekeepers, you took out He Who Remains, and then you just left an organization that has an apparatus that can severely affect all these timelines, and you did nothing with it. You can kind of, like, complain about it a little bit, but you fucking started this shit and didn't do what He Who Remains was actually talking about. Like, you could just leave me do my shit, or you kill me and take over. Like, you have to dismantle the shitty fucking thing that you fought against. Otherwise, shit's gonna ensue. It's like, oh, alright, so hopefully she kind of learns that to kind of get to that point in the future. And she leaves, she goes back to the McDonald's. The team that she pretty much works was like, yeah, I'm getting home with my mom and seeing her, that she's messing around with He Who Remains is temp pad. Though granted, I didn't recognize that until we kind of got through the end of the credits. So like, oh, okay, so she must have to go to the TVA because the temporal loom's fucking up, because all of the branches are coming back or whatnot, and it's not built for it, and Obi's got to kind of fix it or whatnot. And I don't know, maybe Brad's the one that fucking pruned Loki or whatnot to get us to that kind of point or whatnot. We'll have to see, but this was just so boring and basic, of just a lot of dead space in places, and a lot of things that were happening that weren't interesting, or you just were like playing time to get to where you needed to go, and we already kind of know where we need to go. We need to find Sylvie, we need to deal with the repercussions of what happened last season, but we're just spinning wheels and doing almost the same thing that we were doing last season. Loki decided to go variant, and then they're like, hey, okay, we kind of need your help finding this other variant, because they're going fuck balls wild. And the thing is, now it's like, okay, we've got this kind of thing. We fixed Loki's situation. Now it's like, okay, we got to deal with this temporal loom. And it just feels the same in how it's executed. And it's just like, okay, just kind of retreading stuff. We gotta find Sylvie, we gotta deal with this problem. And see, the thing is, the last season trying to find Sylvie and trying to figure out kind of what's going on and to stop the timekeepers and stop who is actually behind the TVA now has been replaced with trying to fix the temporal loom and everything, because that needs to happen. Because we don't know what else is going to happen if it's like broken. And I don't mind mysteries or whatnot, but it just doesn't, it's not presented interestingly enough for me. And that's the biggest kind of thing. I don't mind if you like it and like Loki's character. I like Loki's character. I like what they were doing with Loki and Sylvie in the previous season. I like Mobius. I like the idea of the TV and everything. But it's just not presented in a way that's really engaging to me. And if you like this, that's cool. That's cool. Awesome. If you're loving it and you're enjoying yourself, that's awesome. I'm just like bored with it. I'm like, alright, I could like... Even with certain kind of bad ones, I at least get some kind of enjoyment out of it. This goes onto the realm of boring where I'd be like, I would rather be asleep. And it doesn't help that Disney's like, let's make this like primetime TV. And it's like, the whole point is to have it so that way when you're doing the kind of streaming, you can pick and choose when you want to do it. And I understand that at other times it's inconvenient to have it up at a really early hour, so that way you have to then fight and avoid spoilers. I get that. But trying to put this on like a TV kind of thing of like, hey, let's do it at this like certain kind of time and make it like... I kind of liked it when it was the kind of other way, where it was like up pretty early and you could pick and choose when you wanted to watch it throughout the day and then kind of go about your business. This is just like... if you're setting it for times like this, you're just making it into TV. You're just making it cable TV. I don't know, man. Granted, the last season got interesting with introducing He Who Remains, unleashing the multiverse, and everything with the timelines and all that. There could be something like that happens here, but we're already 2 episodes deep into a 6-episode season. That's not good. Nothing's really pulling me in. And except for liking Loki, Sylvie, Mobius, and B-15. Because B-15's character arc has been interesting as well, going from TVA adherent. Now, granted, hers and Mobius is kind of similar, but Mobius is more the kind of back office detective agent, where she was more of the kind of grunt force that would be going for certain kind of things. I do like to see what they're kind of doing with her. And then also Casey and OB, but... God, it just bores me, and that sucks. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.